Hang on, folks. We're going to start day 4 shortly. We're just working on some technical issues here. We had 3 things happen at once, so I wanted to go live to make sure we hadn't forgotten.
We did not forget.
We did not forget, but we're working on a special guest. So just enjoy the music and. Or Frank, do you want the full screen? I can go full screen with you. I mean, you can just bloviate.
Just pop in when you're ready.
All right, just do like life lessons or something.
Yeah, okay.
Here,
so
I'll fade the music out. Perfect. I'll be back shortly.
Outstanding. Hey, welcome to day 4, another episode where we're going to talk about anything we want, clearly. So yeah, big plans to fish this weekend, and then I woke up this morning and last night, apparently we got it. It came finally. The snow's been skirting over us and dumping its wasteland east of me. And last night it got us, 40 plus mile an hour winds, snow, ice, the whole 9 yards. So we're going to see if I'm going to get out this weekend or not. I'm hoping to. It'll be fun. I love fishing in the cold. It's a lot of fun. It's quiet. One time I'm going to tell you guys a story. This is a great story. So one time I had to do a winter piece with an outdoor writer, who I will not mention his name on air. But I had to do this winter piece, and we scheduled the time to meet, the place to meet, and we got a massive snowstorm that night. And he was coming from far away from where I was at. And so I had gotten there early to get the snow off the boat and everything ready because I had a trail in the blizzard, basically. And so I got to the ramp early, and about an hour goes by and he's not there. And I'm like, holy crap, something must have happened to him because we got bad weather, but it was traveling towards his neck of the woods and he was coming into it. So about an hour later, I get a phone call and I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? You okay? Everything good? And he's like, yeah, I haven't even left the house yet. I'm like, what? And I go, you got 2 hours to get here. You know what I mean? And so he said, I'm not going to be able to make it. And my first reaction was, I was kind of pissed because I took care of everything and did all the stuff, and I was kind of irritated. And I was just going to turn around and go home, and I'm like, screw it. I'm here. I'm going fishing. And I launched the boat and I run down the way, and I go into this dredged marina where I know the bass winter in it because it's got deep enough water for them. And I went in there and I was throwing a crankbait. Believe it or not, the water temperature was 38 degrees. I was throwing a crankbait, a fat-free number 6 and a number 5, the smaller one. And in 2 hours, I must have caught 40 or 50 of them. And so, not to be a jerk, but I was a jerk about it because I took pictures of them and I sent them to him every time I caught one. And man, was he pissed. But it was, winter fishing can be fantastic, and it's all about location. You know what I mean? If you find them, you catch them, and they don't occupy the entire water column. Like in the warm months, they occupy much more of the area. In the wintertime, it starts to get really confined. And so you're really covering about 9% of the water column in the winter. So it was pretty cool. Just a small story before Matt showed up.
Frank?
How you doing, bud?
Dude, so I'm out of contacts, which I just realized. So I've got to do like an emergency order of contacts. Then the bane of my existence, which thank you to Josh from Minnesota, I'm experiencing intermittent packet loss, which I think we've established before.
Yes, we have.
Very similar to a lot of things that happen to your body as you age. My connection lines are aging. And so I've used the term escalate a lot recently over the last month. So I had escalated at 7:30 in the morning, but the escalation continued
Till about a minute ago.
8:32. So in the meantime, you know, one of the cool things that you did last year is you did the Frank Scalish shadow box with the 4 custom painted craws that you shadow boxed yourself.
Yes.
And
yes.
we may get a picture of that soon. So that went for the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, which, by the way, you can see. Dude, I can't watch. I'm going to plug it in. It's too bright, but watch this. This is so cool.
All right, do it. I don't know what's happening, but something's happening. Oh yeah, okay.
See how it like blows it basically it makes my head glow with that position, so I don't have it. So we're gonna have Joe on, who is the proud owner of said shadow box.
Fantastic.
Which I've never even seen in person. But then Joe's my email did not go through to Joe. So during escalation, you were trying to explain to Joe how to get onto the show, which didn't exist because it didn't come through to him. But then all of a sudden I realized it was 8:30, at which you point said, I'm going to go get some coffee.
Yeah.
I said, well, we're supposed to be live a minute ago, Frank. So I think we got it figured out with Joe. And I think you got your coffee, and I think we already got an early story time with Frank. It's a hell of a start to December. Now, I give this about 50-50 as to whether Mr. McCLOSKEY has audio on here. Joe, do we have audio?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear me?
My goodness, we are rocking and rolling. Welcome to day 4 with the man Frank Scalish, Joe McCLOSKEY. He's already showing it off. Thank you for jumping on BTL. Thank you for supporting
fabulous.
The Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, and you're going to join us in a trio of bloviation for the next hour, Joe.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys. This is absolutely incredible, and it's quite an honor to be on your show, Matt, Frank. Day 4 is a fabulous podcast. Probably, to me, it's one of the best podcasts out there for bass fishing. You guys are informative, and you're fun. And I think we need that. I think we need that more and more as fishermen to remember that bass fishing is fun.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There, hold it up again. Are they as cool in person as it appears?
These are absolutely beautiful. Absolutely. The only problem I'd ever have is not breaking them open to take them out to fish them. No, I would never do that. These are going to go. These are going to go to whatever grandchild decides to, because my kids didn't catch the bug like I did, but they're going to go to whatever grandchild catches the bug.
Hey, Frank, What are the odds we could get Joe maybe a LureNet gift card so he can get a couple craw patterns and not have to be tempted to bust out the shadow box one of ones?
I'm sure we can make something happen. Go ahead.
I'm already thankful that LureNet put out that Black Friday sale. Believe me, I hit it pretty hard. And thank you, Matt, for the BTL code, because there were lures that weren't part of the sale, but every little bit helps. And so
that's how it's supposed to work, because the code proves that Frank and I aren't completely worthless.
Correct.
So when it's used, it shows.
Hey, have some value.
So I noticed.
Okay.
Go ahead, Frank. Run it. It's day 4 with Frank Scalish. You guys can have at it.
No. I'm just going to make a point about the shadow box. So when I got the shadow box, okay, it was I needed a deep one to hold the baits. And then when I was putting it together, all they had in the shadow box was like, you know how it comes with that like carpeted cardboard on the back, and
we talking Hobby Lobby here?
Yeah, 100%. It's like
carpeted, I know exactly cardboard. What you're talking about.
Exactly. So and you put the pin in the cardboard.
It's a pain in the ass to work with.
Dude, I'm like, there is no way this thing won't handle movement. You know what I mean? So I went back to the art store and I bought foam core. And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, if I can raise the inside of the box high enough to get the lip of the bait to touch the glass, when I stick the pins in, I'll cross the pins, in the thick foam core. And because the weight, the glass will be pressing on the bills, the baits won't move.
Lock them in place.
You lock them right in place. And so that's what I did. Joe, if you wanted to take that apart, if you go in the back, there's little spin things on it, and you can spin it out, and you can carefully pull apart what I put together. But I don't recommend it.
I'm not touching it. It's perfect the way it is. I was only kidding. I would never do. They're actually a work of art. They are really beautiful.
Well, thank you for your support of the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. Greatly appreciated. I'm not gonna lie, Frank and I talked during the entire duration of the auction. Frank's like, God, I hope someone bids on this thing. And I'm like, Frank, I think you're good, dude. And he's like, but what if I don't? And then we're checking it. So really appreciate it. I'd like to just start. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I saw in your email, does the SGT stand for Sergeant?
Yeah, I was for 37 years. I was a Philadelphia police officer, and and retired at the rank of lieutenant.
Nice.
I kept that email because I was a sergeant for 20 years, and I just never decided to change it because too many people had it, friends of mine. So there was no point in changing my email after all this time.
Perfect.
As far as thanking me for the Hall of Fame, I need to thank you guys because you turned me on to the auction, and it was for a good cause. Every inductee was well worth it. I mean, I followed all of them. Alfred Williams, frogging. I mean, he set the pace before anybody else did frogging back in the day. Mark Zona, what can I say about him? I think I'm a bass guy. I'm not throwing any shade on any other organization, but I've always been BASS. I think BASS was slipping a little bit, and I think Mark Zona brought at least the television back to life. Frank, you'll remember this. I don't know if you'll remember this, Matt. You remember in the Bass magazine, Harry and Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely. They would always go on crazy adventures. They threw a hubcap spinnerbait and a scuppernong flavored jelly worm out of a tin boat. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Harry and Charlie expert.
So there you go, the scuppernong. That reminds me of what Zona did with bass again. He brought that back when he says slaunch, and all the verbiage that he used. Because sometimes when you're reading or when you're watching something, it gets intense. You need that little break for entertainment, and that's what he did, and he was the best at it. I don't know what they're gonna do without him, but he was the best at it.
Well said, Joe.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I know Zona well, and he is as solid as they come. I mean, he's a good guy.
Was he intense when you did the show with him, Frank, or was he like cutting up, or was when you actually because that was him in the office during work. Was there a little bit of intensity when you were doing, what was it called back then? The world's greatest fishing show?
I don't remember the title of the show, but the crazy enough thing is we had the best freaking time ever. I mean, he lets it fly. I mean, don't even kid yourself. He's funnier in real life because he can get away with way more. You know what I mean? When he's doing Bassmasters, you can't just go, you got to be kind of, you got to kind of hold the road. But in real life, it's out there. And we had the best time because there was things about that show that he put into the show. Like I took him steelhead fishing after we were bass fishing, just because the steelies were running then. And that was crazy. There was a lot that let's just put it to you this way. There was a lot that never could come to the air. and it was so much fun. I mean, it was unbelievable. But I got them hooked up. I got them hooked up with a couple of steelhead. The funniest part was I only had one pair of cleats. And when I steelhead fish, I like to wear the cleats because if I step on a smooth rounded stone, I grip it. Or if I'm on flat shale, I can walk across the flat shale in a heavy current and not slide on the shale. But I only had one pair of cleats, and I had brought Mark a set of waders and wading boots, and they were felt bottom. And the part of the river that we were fishing, we had to walk across a flat shale shelf to get to the plunge hole to drift the streamers through it. And he hooks up, and the minute he hooks up, he's a fisherman, so he hooks up on the steelhead and he plants his feet and he makes a stance and he starts going downriver. I had to go in front of him and plant my feet so he would stop sliding.
I'm showing some highlights there of the actual show, and then the first was actually of Mark's induction speech into the Hall of Fame at Bass Pro Shops this about a couple months ago in Springfield, Missouri. There you are, Frank, wearing a sailing jacket and shorts.
Yeah, exactly. That's a Windstopper fleece, which I've come to love Windstopper.
Joe, have you always been a bass fisherman? Like, what's your background on that? How'd you get into it? When did you start? Like, how far back does the passion go?
So when I was 10 years old, I used to watch the American Sportsman, I believe it was, on ABC. And
Okay.
I'm a city kid. You didn't hear nothing. And this is before BASS even started. So it's in the 60s. Date myself here.
That's all right.
So my dad, who never fished or hunted or did anything outdoors, he came out of the Army and went right into banking. He went out. He took me out. He seen me watching this show, and he seen something. I don't know. I owe it to him because he took me to a local tackle store. And he bought me, I don't even remember what name. I know it was red and black. It had
A Daredevil?
No, the rod. The
rod.
rod.
The rod.
It
Okay.
was a spinning.
Probably a Hedden back then.
It was a red and black. It was a spin cast rod. It was two pieces. It had metal ferrules to put them together.
Holy cow! Is this the show, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
yeah, it was Kurt Gowdy, I guess.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Kurt Gowdy.
All right, so we
Yeah.
got a metal 2-piece rod.
Yeah, and he had no idea. So the snelled eagle claw, small hooks, bought some night crawlers, and took me down to the Delaware River, where I caught nothing, but I cast and I cast, and well, back then the Delaware was pretty bad, pretty bad.
Is it fantastic now?
Actually, it is, or it was.
Okay.
They dredged again a few years back, but they had an elite series. Mike Iaconelli won it on the Delaware River.
Yeah. I was there. It was wild.
I was working. I wanted to go to that tournament so bad because I learned how to bass fish on that river. And if you learn on that tidal river, it's got a 7-foot swing. If you learn on that river, you'll know what you're doing anywhere you go. But in any case, that's how it all started. And then I lost my mind. As a matter of fact, here you go.
Here's Ike winning on the river here, real quick. By the way, if here, this will show you. I wonder. Okay.
And they had
see this right here, Joe.
Yeah.
That's me.
Oh, right
the
there
kid with the camera.
Yeah. So I worked for Pure Fishing at the time, and I did like stuff for their social media and was the pro team management, which was ironic because the day before Iaconelli accidentally stepped on 11 rods. So I had to replace those rods after day 3. And then that's me right there on
Dude, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So anyway, so yeah, I love that. That was an awesome tournament. Okay, have at it.
So that river gets a shad. Well, it gets a shad run and it gets a herring run, and they've been affected. There's moratoriums on both of them now.
Oh, okay.
But back then there wasn't. The runs were in full swing, so they go up the river, they spawn, and then the fry come down, and so the bass gorge on all that bait fish. And since it's tidal, believe it or not, I've caught bass on that river that have had blue crabs in their gullet, so they even eat them.
Yeah, and the other thing now, the shad that you got that run up that river, don't guys fish for them with fly rods and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
And shad darts and shad flies, or shad spoons.
Right, they're little.
Have
tiny,
you done that, Joe?
They're real tiny things. Yes.
Is it fun?
It's amazing. Oh yeah. I mean, you get a 9-pounder on light line.
Wait, a 9-pound shad, SHAD.
Yes. Yeah, but they're
yeah, no, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's an East Coast thing. It's literally exclusive to a specific part of the country, right?
Well, they Philadelphia is the birthplace of the country, right? So there used to be a joke because the shad runs were so big on the Delaware and the Schuylkill River that comes off of the Delaware that they could walk across the shad, and there was always a joke that you take the shad and you put it on a piece of hickory board and you put it in the fire, then you pull it out and throw away the shad and eat the hickory board.
They smoked the shad though, right?
They smoked them, and the roe is desirable. So they're actually in, I believe it was Lambertville or Lumberville, New Jersey. There was a guy that actually had the only license to net them.
Wow.
And
that's a fish on my bucket list, Joe. Have you ever caught one, Frank?
No, I never have. They look a lot like a skipjack.
Scott says he enters a tournament every year.
Yeah, dude. Like, you fly fish for them. They make these little tiny flies for them. I looked at it really hardcore because I wanted to go do it. Just to go.
Well, let's go do it.
We should.
I'm in. Like, what else you got going on? Well, you're painting a new color every 3 days.
Please. I spent yesterday.
Oh, speaking of which, is there a new? There's been like 6 people that are asked. No one wants to.
Okay, so here,
color. What's the deal with that, Frank?
Yeah, so we're gonna have to do a little business first before we continue. So we were gonna release the signature series today.
Okay.
However, as you know, always with shipping, there's an issue. So
if we're gonna have a hiccup, today's the day.
It's gonna be today. So here's what's going on. So pay attention. The Pro Rogue, the original Pro Rogues, are now in the FX colors, and they're going to be released on Monday the 9th. The signature series, the next signature series bait, is going to be released on Thursday the 12th. So not today, but next Thursday, the signature series is going to release. Now, Joe, pay attention, because it's St. Clair red. So if you want to fish that craw color in your shadow box, that the St. Clair red one is the one that's coming out Thursday. So you can get some to fish with.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that's
December 12th.
Thursday, December 12th.
Here,
the signature series is releasing.
Oh, I need to edit this.
Monday, December 9th, the Pro Rogues and all the FX colors is being released. And since we're in the throes of the cold water, that Pro Rogue is a money bait.
Wait, that's for AFCO. Hold on a second.
A shameless plug.
No, I think there you go. Is that correct?
Yes.
We'll just put that so people who are watching the show will let that scroll for a few moments across the bottom.
Ah, that looks so good, man. It's like breaking news. It is breaking news.
And then there is the beat, and then look, I think we have a different one. So for both of those, loyal listener code capital BTL24.
There you go. Perfect.
Right. So what's your do you fish derbies, Joe? tournament?
I did. That'll segue into this. You're always giving Frank a hard time about his hair back in the day in that picture.
You see what happened.
So I'm gonna change this forever for him, because if you think the hair was bad, can you imagine wearing a tournament jacket like this?
Oh my God, that is fantastic, Joe. For our iTunes listeners, please, in great detail, describe the color, reflectivity, and embroidery on that gem.
That is baby blue.
Like a shiny, like a sparkly, like a satin baby blue. It says World Series Team Bass Fishing with the Pennsylvania state outlined with some assuming that's some Pennsylvania state flag coloring in it with the jumping bass on the side.
Yep.
Perfect.
It's like a bomber style jacket. So what was that trail?
That was a local team trail out of New Jersey. Most of the lakes we fished were in New Jersey. Pennsylvania's like a really tough state for tournaments. There's not a lot of big lakes for unlimited horsepower. I mean, you have the Delaware River. You have my home lake. They call it the Pack, Wallenpauck Pack. They have you have Raystown, and then out west by Frank, you have Allegheny Reservoir, which they call Kinzua, and then obviously Lake Erie. Everything else had to go pretty much outside the state. So we did tournaments in Hopatchin Lake in New Jersey and Greenwood Lake in New Jersey and New York. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I learned early on, though, that I was never going to be a professional bass fisherman.
So did I, but that hasn't stopped me, Joe.
No. You keep. No, Matt. You keep your dream alive. I mean, you pursue it, man. I had to make a decision. I got married in '92, so unfortunately, my bass boat had to get sold. But that's neither here nor there. That was a decision that I made, and I stayed with it. So I'll show you. I started out as a kid with a Coleman Skidoo. It's a plastic canoe with a square stern. I don't even know if they make it anymore.
How do you spell Skidoo?
Just put an S in front of canoe.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Too simple. That's too simple, Joe.
Okay. Continue. I'm just gonna.
And then I had a Sears and Roebuck Esca 5-horsepower motor on the back.
Outstanding.
With a Laurent. There you go. And that was it. That's how I started.
Okay.
Oh, and that's got a transom on the backs, and then you can mount some form of propeller to that.
Up to 5 horsepower or a trolling motor.
So okay.
Is that thing like that then, or would it run?
No, it ran level. Huh. It was pretty stable. You could stand in it.
Perfect. So my first bass boat was a Sports Pal. Remember those canoes, the Sports Pal? They had styrofoam sponsoons on the side.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, dude, I had one of those.
Yeah, that was my first bass boat.
I had one of those. My dad would take me out and we would put wicker lawn chairs in them. And he would bungee cord the lawn chairs in there. And then he would take me out and paddle me around while I bass fished. He never fished. At the time, it never crossed my mind to be like, hey, Pops, you want to make a cast? He was my motor.
Yeah, dude. My dad would come with me, and I was his motor, and he couldn't fish worth a crap. Actually, he was a good hunter, but he was the worst fisherman on earth. And I remember one time we went out. He goes, "Come on!" He goes, "I know this lake that's got pike in it." Yeah, that was the Sports Pal. Mine was olive green, but yeah, that's the boat. Anyway, so he goes, "I know this lake. It's got pike in it. And we got to go." And it was freezing cold out. And of course I was young and I major league underdressed. Like I was like hypothermic by the end of the day. shaking, the whole everything, hypothermia. I had it full blown, and there wasn't northern pike. They were little freaking
Pickerel.
chain pike,
Chain
chain
pickerel.
pickerel.
Hey, were they master angler length?
No, dude, they were little hammer handles, and I caught the crap out of them, but nothing big. It was a tiny little marshy swamp, and hell, in the summertime it would almost dry up. So it wasn't a really good fishery. And and I'm like, Dad, we got to go because I don't feel good. He goes, no, well, we got it a couple more hours.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the Scalish patriarchs were not much for I'm cold, can we go in?
No, absolutely not. No way.
Huh.
Even rabbit hunting, my fingers would be frozen to the bone, like literally frostbitten. And he's like, we got another hour of daylight. We're not going anywhere.
So how often do you get out on the water now, Joe?
I'm retired, so
yeah.
all the time. So I graduated to this.
What is that model?
That it was all right. So Johnny Morris, when he did Bass Pro Shops, came out with a package for the Bass Tracker when he started it. Right, this gentleman from Elverson, he's no longer with us. From Elverson, PA, the company was called Tersac Marine. They're no longer in existence. He came up with a fiberglass package deal on a boat. This boat would handle a 40 horsepower motor, but I bought it because most of our lakes where I lived were limited horsepower. That was 9.9, and they were fabulous bass fishing lakes. So that was the package. So it was
higher. There you go.
It was a Mariner 9.9, and then I had a paper graph on the side there. It was a tiller. Paper graph Lowrance.
Looks like an X15 or an X16.
That's exactly what it was, an X15.
Wow.
And then up in front was a flasher, a Lowrance flasher, and then a Mariner trolling motor, which was like bulletproof. It was so heavy steel. And then that little center thing in there was the live well.
And then is that the gas can just strapped right to the side?
Yeah, that's right. That's just the gas can right there.
And then is that burgundy carpeting?
Yes.
With tan seats.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. That's about as old school as you can get.
Yeah.
I even have the anchor winch for the mushroom anchor up front.
I see that. That's the little handle that you would lower it and then crank it to raise it.
That's great.
The original power poles. I'll tell you what, that would be banned with bass this year after some of the rule decisions they made.
And then within a couple years, I graduated to that.
There you go.
So that was the first fiberglass bass boat. That looks, what is that, about a 93 Ranger?
That's an 89 361V. 1989 361V with 150 horsepower Evinrude XP.
Yeah. What was it?
That had, you can't see it probably, but that had a cutting edge bottom line 300, which they're no longer in existence.
An Eagle?
Bottom line.
I've never even heard of that, Joe.
Oh, look it up. That was cutting edge back then. It's
a graph?
Yeah, it was Eagle.
Oh, it was an Eagle. Okay.
That's funny. Shag carpeting.
And then the front had a Hummingbird LCR, and then I had a motor guide. Yeah, Evinrude. Motor guide. Yeah, Evinrude with I think, what was that called back then? The Shooter four blade.
Yeah, and
I love that boat. I love that boat. I mean, that boat. People complain about rough water rides and stuff, but I love that boat. That boat was nimble and it was stable.
Now, was your trolling motor the bent shafted one?
No, that was just the straight shaft motor guide.
I can't even find a picture of this.
24 volt. You can't find a picture of the bottom line.
What am I looking up? It's an Eagle?
No, it's called, the company was called Bottom Line. BOTTOMLINE. bottom line, and it was the bottom line 300. They
Yeah, I
didn't
can
last.
find it.
Yeah,
So-
they didn't last long.
So
It
the
is
old
last-
Evinrude trolling motor had the bent shaft on it, like that, which eliminated torque when you turned it.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know we were doing
No, we're
drawing
good.
already.
When you turn it, it eliminates the torque in the motor. So that was the theory behind the bent shaft. It was a phenomenal concept back in the day. And if you think about it, the fishing equipment that's the fishing buddy.
Is that similar, Joe? There's the bottom line side finder.
Yeah, that's the name of the company, but this was literally a 9-inch screen.
How long did they last? I can't believe I've never heard of this company.
They weren't around long after that. The one I had was supposed to be the cutting edge of liquid crystal.
Yeah, it was the forward facing sonar, the side imaging. Like you'd go to the ramp and guys would be like, "Oh, he's got got the bottom line."
Yeah,
Joe,
that was the first side imager.
You'd launch and they'd be like, "Yeah, we should have gotten into law enforcement."
That was a lot of overtime, buddy, to pay for those things back then. Compared to now, that was nothing.
Well, yeah, compared to now, everything was nothing.
Yeah. Do you know, have you in your travels ever ran into Dave Mansu?
That is so funny.
He was a Jersey cop for like 30 years.
Nah.
Yeah,
no.
Dave beat me on the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, he won an open there, but he was a cop in New Jersey. Now he's retired, lives at Table Rock and fishes every day. Really good dude.
Yeah, Dave's a really good dude.
But I think he had 30 years in there too.
The only pro that we had out of Pennsylvania when I was growing up was he's no longer with us, unfortunately, was a guy named Randall Roaming.
Yep, I remember that. Adjust your mic, Joe. Just put a little bit closer to your mouth there.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
No.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Randall Romick. I got to meet him out at that Tersac Marine when I bought that other boat, dreaming about a full-size bass boat, and then it happened. I got it, and then I had to give it up, and then my wife let me in 1999 buy this because she wanted something safe.
Okay, that's fair. That's what we call that. I believe that's what you would call a compromise, right, Joe?
So yeah, so that actually I caught a lot of smallmouth off of that because that's actually a jet boat that had 175.
Oh, cool.
That had 175 horsepower Mercury sport jet on it, and I kept that up until last year. When I bought a new bass boat, I finally get back in a bass boat after all those years. But that was great for the non-tidal section of the Delaware River. It was an amazing boat, but not a bass boat. So
yeah, but you can go places in that boat.
Oh yeah, I mean they make Pennsylvania because of the Susquehanna River. They make some amazing, absolutely amazing boats.
Yeah,
you got one now.
This is what I have now.
Up
a little, then tilt it just a tad, and then yep. All right. So
that's a 20 XE. That's a Phoenix 20 XE.
Yep. Yeah, you're state of the art.
You're back in track now, man.
So and I'm loving that boat. I mean, I went nuts. I got 2 10-foot Raptors. I got the show. I got a 15-inch Hummingbird Solix on the console. I have 12-inch Solix up front for 360 and mapping, and I have a Garmin 8612 with the 34 transducer on that for forward facing.
Perfect.
So let me ask you this as an ardent listener. So we Strike and I struggle with, we've kind of had talks behind stage and we're like, dude, we need to keep it old school while mixing in the new technology. Never stray from the foundation, but don't be afraid to explore new horizons. Fair assessment, Frank?
Very fair.
Which is the way we've kind of taken it with that. you kind of just took us through your journey of the boats, Joe. Talk about your experience with the forward facing. Do you like it? Is it exciting? I mean, you've obviously already explained you've been on the cutting edge of technology for the majority of
especially with that bottom line 300
with that bottom line. But like, what are your thoughts as you kind of explore and learn that new frontier?
Well, I'm pro technology. I'm not for stopping any forward progress in this sport. I don't understand I'll never understand the argument about it. To me, you still have to be a talented fisherman. All these tools, yeah, do they help? Yes. But do they make the fish jump in the boat? No. So therefore, and here's the bottom line. Frank and I talked about this before I came on the show. I'm a crankbait fisherman. I'm never going to change. I love throwing a crankbait.
Yeah.
That's never going to change. I get a thrill when I'm pulling that through and that suddenly just stops dead.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the greatest feeling in the world. Now, with that being said, the tool of the forward-facing sonar actually allows me to know that I'm not wasting my time. There are fish there.
Yeah, and your cast is more accurate because you're hitting your structural element every time. That's the funny thing too, is because we did have this conversation, and back in the old days, like I'm gonna say something, and I don't want nobody get mad at me.
Oh boy.
But like I noticed when I stopped fishing Bassmasters towards that last season or two in Bassmasters, there's a new crowd coming in, which is good because that's rotation keeps everything moving forward. Bass fishing became almost like a fast food mentality, where a lot of the younger dudes today, they're like, I want my limit, I want it now, and technology has given you the ability with this, you can get information on anything, anywhere, anytime. And when I was coming up, when Joe was coming up, essentially we were groundbreaking. When I was structure fishing, the only time you heard of structure fishing was if you were fortunate enough to read Buck Perry's book on structure fishing, where
plugging, right?
Right, where all he did was troll spoon plugs around. That's what I knew from structure fishing, but it appealed to me because to me that was a type of fishing that nobody was really doing. Everybody was going to the bank and flipping. Essentially, when I grew up, if you weren't flipping, you weren't fishing. And I spent most of my time floating around in the middle of nowhere, which because we're talking about the advent of technology. In the beginning, I had a flasher. Then I had a paper graph. I had an X15 paper graph. Then we went to a digital graph, which the original digital graphs were nowhere near as good as the paper graph for detail. And so I kept my paper graph and the digital. And then when digital graphs had more pixelation in them, they became cleaner, and then I got rid of the paper graph, and then from there we went to side imaging and to where we are today, and it was a great progression, well for me, for one, because I learned so much about structure and offshore fishing from the tools that I had back in the day, because I mean we had to go out literally with a paper map, a compass, and a protractor, and you used your compass readings. When you found something, you'd mark it on your map, 60 degrees, blah blah blah, and then you'd mark it and you could find it again. Or I had a pad of paper with me, and I would be line up this telephone pole with the corner of this house. And
dude,
you know what I'm saying?
You know how we're doing more stuff next year, Frank?
Old school?
No, you know how we got some stuff in the
works.
works.
We got great stuff.
We got to keep it. So here, dude, this is awesome. I literally just had an epiphany. an idea. So, you know, you've got your boat, I've got my boat. What I want to do is I want to go out on a lake, and I want to put something down there, like find something that I can drop a GPS on, a piece of structure, a boulder, a rock, a brush pile, a stump, and you're with me. We're in my boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have the exact GPS coordinates. Then we go back to the boat ramp. We turn all of the electronics off, and I want to see how close you can get back to that one piece of structural element using the old school method. Like, how close can you get back to that brush pile using a compass, a protractor, and triangulation if it's 15 miles from the boat ramp?
Okay, so I have a question for you. So when we find said structural element,
yep,
I am allowed to have my pad of paper with me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then
you just can't. I mean, you can't write down the GPS coordinates. Obviously.
No.
You can exactly the way you used to do it. Like when you found something in practice and you were like, "Dude, I'm gonna smoke KVD's or Rick Clunn's butt when I get back to this thing, as long as I can find it."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just want to see how that's done. I've never seen that done before, Frank. I mean, I've seen, like, hey, line it up with the blue house over here, and you want to cast to this angle, but I've never actually seen someone try to find Drunkwood's going to be hammered, a structural element.
Yeah, dude, I can if I can have my pad of paper like I used to do.
Yeah.
I could find it again. It might take me, 15, 20 minutes to find it, but I'll find it again.
Is that something you guys would be interested in? We do a video on that? Like we could do like 4 or 5 different ones. I think I would be fascinated with that. Because Frank, I couldn't even get back to the part of the lake where it was in.
Do you know every bass boat I ever owned up until, well, when the GPSs came out with the mapping systems, every bass boat I ever owned, I had a compass on it. I never owned a boat without a compass.
Joe, is that how you navigated back in the day? Was by compass?
Absolutely. It was the only way to do it. What were you going to do? You had to have a compass. You had to have a map.
Yeah.
Did you share coordinates via carrier pigeon, Frank?
No, I never shared coordinates.
A trick question.
Yeah, I never shared coordinates. I will say this. I went through dozens and dozens of marker buoys a year because I would lose them, or I would let them string out, and sometimes they'd unravel and they weren't tied at the end, and boom, the buoy's gone. I've done that before.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not new to the Flasher. I go up to Crappie Chronicles, Adam Bartuzek dropping a bunch of really cool new episodes over on his channel there. But I have extensive experience with the Vexlar. And there is nothing cooler than going like the first time I went up there, I'm like, I don't know how to read. I'd done a media deal with David Fritz where he's like, look how hard the bottom is there. And I was like, yeah, look, freaking looks the same to me. But when you get up there and you see like the actual fish come into the cone of a Flasher, and by day 3, you're going, that's a pike, or you're going, oh my gosh, that's a big crappie. And you can tell whether it's excited and how fast it's moving, and you're pulling your jig up and you're watching that thing on the Vexlar come up to it, and you're like, eat it, eat it, eat it. I mean, and it's like live. Like I never thought I'd be able to do that with a Flasher, and it tells an entire story.
Oh,
just
yeah,
in a
100%.
Circle with red things.
We ice fished off of Flashers forever. Forever, man.
No, they're not smart glasses. I did have a couple questions, Joe, I wanted to get to from you. Scott wanted to know if you fish Lake Nakamixon.
Yeah. That other boat that I had, that Nakamixon was, it is fantastic. It is an absolute fantastic lake. Big fish in that lake. Well, most of the lakes in Pennsylvania, they introduced alewives. The alewives took off, and because they took off, they introduced hybrid and pure strain stripers.
Ooh.
And so, in fact,
we have another photo coming down the pipe.
yes, you do.
Yeah, Raystown has big stripers in it.
Did we do alewife as one of our featured bait fish shows, Frank?
Yeah, because it's part of the herring family, and I think I covered that.
Okay.
There's my neighbor's grandson. I took him out. That's a 7-pound, 4-ounce hybrid.
Oh,
Nice.
dude, those things will whip your butt.
And that got hooked on this.
Is that a bomber?
Yeah, that's a bomber. That's a bomber.
Foray?
Yep. Those little hooks were destroyed when the thing came in.
Oh yeah,
but we were going smallmouth fishing, and I had no idea that the alewives were spawning. And then all of a sudden, the water blew up. We were sitting over 47 feet of water, and this was the only thing tied on that was a plug. Everything else was jigs and stuff. So I said, "Grab it and throw it, dude," and he did, and he hooked that.
Yeah, those hybrids, man, they're fun. God,
they're tasty too.
Yeah, I got on a bunch of them this fall, and I unfortunately I chucked them all back. I don't know why I threw them back, but here I'm gonna, if I could know where
I'm trying to see if we did a show specifically about the alewife, and I need to start doing a better job in the descriptions of the show. Because here's 184. Frank is back with another very important life lesson. I don't know what that means. Here's 180. I'm trying to see if this is what it is.
Hey,
the title is, oh, that's a big one. How big is that, Frank?
That was about 8 or 9.
Oh, okay.
I caught a bunch of them.
Huh.
Oh, they're nice fish.
I was looking for the elusive large.
But you didn't eat those.
No, I chucked them back, and then you told me about the half shell, and I'm like, damn, I should have saved it.
Yeah, that's how I do all that stuff. Is I put them on the smoker, but I just take a brush and scrub the scales to get the slime off of them, and then treat them like a redfish.
But you leave the scales on them when you cook them.
Scales on and stuff. I scoop out the rib cage, which they're easy on those hybrids. I mean, they're big, and then you just cut that line of pin bones out of the back, and then Cajun season, blackening season, salt, pepper, lemon, melted butter over the top that you continually baste on it. Put it at 350, just straight on the grill. If you don't want to start a fire, I'd recommend maybe a little bit of foil underneath that, and just baste it in 10-15 minutes. Treat it just like redfish on the half shell, like you'd get at a restaurant.
Yeah, so you're not cooking the flesh side; you're only cooking it on the skin side.
Correct. Are you just frying it, Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just I'm gonna definitely look up that grilling technique on the half shell, because that sounds a lot simpler.
Yeah, it is. Just look up for redfish and follow it for redfish. So, I don't know where this banner went. I was gonna say, so once again, people are asking. December 12th is the drop. All right, what do we got here?
That was yesterday. I told Frank I wanted him to show him a picture.
You caught those yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday in the ocean.
Ocean stripers, dude. Let me tell you something. They pull. they pull.
They were the problem there is you have slot limits this time of year. You can only go you can't go more than 3 miles out. So you're right along the shore. We were using umbrella rigs. And
just trucking it.
You catch 3 or 4 at a time, and they're just full of bait fish.
Rockfish. Don't they call them rockfish out there, Joe? And don't people get in fist fights?
In Maryland, they call them rockfish. To me, they're stripers. They're the same thing. They're the same thing that's in the lake. The only difference is they breed out there.
Right.
Okay. Isn't that a rough fishery? Don't guys get in fights all the time? Get off of my rockfish hole and stuff. I just feel like I've seen a bunch
of. The captain we were out with was kind of angry because he pulled out. They knew where he was going, and 6 boats followed him out. So
Yeah. I've heard some wild stories about that out there because, I mean, you guys don't take crap from anybody, you know, that New Jersey to that whole coast side line up there, and the rockfish guys take it very seriously.
there's so many running right now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but it was amazing. We got our limit in 2 hours, and then we just went for big fish, and we caught 50 fish.
Oh my gosh.
We caught 50 fish, and man, my arms are still sore.
Look at this. I'm going full screen on Frank. Like, he's happy for you, but the man is in the middle of a snowstorm right now and he can't go anywhere. And he is starting to twitch. He's hearing about that.
I am, dude. I'm going to have to get my waders on and go catch a few steelhead just to get
we got to get the date dialed in for you to get down here in January and February.
Oh yeah, man. The biggest striper I ever caught was on the Chesapeake Bay, and it was an ocean runner. You know how they run up the river, and I was throwing a XR50 on 50-pound braid on gravel bars, and I was slow rolling it. So I was ticking the bottom with it, and I came off the ledge because the current will scoop out a side. You'll have a steep side and a gradual side. So I would throw it over it, and then I would drag it up the gradual side, and then when it would break free, I would be over where the river channel scooped out a little depression. And I throw out there, and no shit, dude, I go, and it's and I come over the edge, and it boom breaks free, and all of a sudden, wham! And I was literally not hardly paying attention. I almost lost the rod and everything. And I lock into this fish, and I had my finger on the braid, and I locked into the fish, and it took off, and it just sliced like almost right through my finger. So I'm fighting this thing, and it is a giant. It was a giant. Like when I picked it up, you know, I picked it up like this, and the belly was in between my arms and shit. It was a giant striper. So I'm fighting it. I get it to the boat, and I can't get it from the front of the boat. I got to go to the back where the transom's lower to the water and try and grab this thing. Well, it's got my rattle bait in his mouth, and it's thrashing around, and I'm trying to grab it. And we didn't have nets back then. We weren't allowed to use a net, and it's thrashing and thrashing and thrashing. And I'm like, holy crap, I can't get it. And so I got one moment of opportunity, and one-handed, I grabbed it by the mouth with one hand, and I went to slide him over the transom of the boat, and it started shaking and twisting. It almost broke my freaking wrist. I had to drop it back in and re-grab it. I'm telling you, those things have the will to live, man. That is so much fun.
And you're lucky you grabbed it by the mouth, because they got sharp gill plates that will cut your hands to pieces.
Yeah.
They're so nasty.
I got hit by a hybrid on Grand Lake with Matt Steffen, and I was like, I literally just like tossed it back, and it did one of these, and it caught me right on the inside of the thumb. And it wasn't until 2 casts later, it cut me so clean and deep that I looked down, and my reel was just covered in blood. And he's like, what the heck? And I said, dude, that thing gill plated me. I mean, it was the cleanest. It was like a razor.
Yeah, dude, it's survival, man. It's survival.
Yeah, I had one destroy on the Delaware River on a riprap. I was throwing a bomber 7A like this, and it hit, and I knew right away it was a striper the way it trucked. It peeled. It totally destroyed my bait casting reel. I mean, just stripped it a line. I couldn't hold it back. I had it. I loosened it. I cranked it. I did everything I could on this fish. And then I just watched it 100 yards away, leap in the air and throw the plug. But
you just got a pile of old school plugs sitting there, Joe?
I do.
Okay, let's go. You got anywhere to? Well, no, you're retired. You got to know, because I know we're filming again after this. Let's dive into it.
Well, because it was the whole thing, because of Abergast, I know you've probably never seen one of these. Frank has. It's medieval looking. Okay. It is a musky jitterbug. Look at that.
That's the wooden one.
Yep.
With
Look.
3 hooks. It's got a set of treble hooks hanging off the side of the jitterbug that appears to be about the size of a what's the Zaraspila boya.
Yeah.
No, it's bigger. It's like the size of a Super Spook Junior.
But it's got 3 sets of old school treble. Now you ain't changing those trebles either. There's no split ring. They're welded into the bait.
There's no split rings at all.
Have you caught fish on that, Joe?
Yes, a catfish, believe it or not.
I thought it was a blackbird, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, I did catch a muskie on a tournament, but there's one there, tiger muskie.
Are you lipping that?
River. No, I have. There's a gripper.
Oh, it looks like you're just. It looks like you're lipping it.
That was during a tournament, and I was running a plug down a lay down, and I thought I had the biggest bass. I'm like, yes, we're gonna at least get big bass on this tournament, and it was a tiger muskie.
That's fabulous.
All right, keep going.
All right, so the next thing up, I was talking to Frank about was, and I want to thank him because I went through my tackle because I'd be using this stuff, and I had to pull it all out, and I'm going to start new again because some of this stuff is absolutely irreplaceable. So the G finish, this is a Zara Spook.
Oh, that's old.
In the G finish, and this one doesn't really show you the image so much, but here you go. Here's a big O in the same thing, and if you can see,
yeah,
the pearlescent.
Now you've changed the split rings and hooks on that one.
Yeah, these are killers in clear water. I mean, they just jump.
Yeah, that back in the day, if you were fishing the Ohio River and you weren't throwing that G finish big O, you were missing out on a lot. That was. Go ahead.
Here's the Hellbender, Frank.
I see that.
In the G finish. You don't see them too much anymore.
That's a interesting shaped bait with a tiny little Colorado on the back, and I don't even know how to describe that. How would you describe that?
It's okay. So basically. So basically,
that's a metal lip.
Whoever designed that said, "Let's just add a Prince Albert to the end."
Yeah, exactly. I'm done with that one.
Come on, Frank, in depth for the MP3 iTunes listeners.
Okay, it has an oval head attached to the back of the oval head. It has a tapering hot dog like body with a small Colorado spinnerbait on the back of it.
Next bait.
Head and meadow mouse.
Oh, dude, that I've never seen one of those.
That is unbelievable.
That's nice, man.
Is that from the 20s?
No. No.
Does it not look like one of those baits?
It might be late 70s, early 80s, but I'm not sure. And of course.
Whoa! Let's go back to the stuffed animal.
Meadow mouse.
What do you have any info on this, Frank? Like, did you ever throw this, Joe?
Yeah. Yes. This thing's beat up. I mean, it used to have nice fur on it.
Who made it? Turn it upside down so I can see the. Hedden made the meadow mouse.
You're not even familiar with this, are you, Frank?
No.
You found a crankbait that Frank has never heard of in the Hedden line, Joe.
That's fabulous.
Metal lip.
How does that? What is the action? Like, is that a wake bait or what is?
It wiggles. It just wiggles through the water.
On the surface, though.
Yeah. Not far underneath. Just really tight to the surface.
Northeast Bass is saying earlier meadow mouse from the 30s, model 4000.
The original wake bait.
Yep.
A lot of people are saying that we need a monthly feature. We need a monthly feature with Joe. They're liking the show and tell. All right, keep rolling.
All right, so I pull these out because I still use these too. There's
Ooh.
a pose.
That's the original.
That's the original.
How can you guys tell that's the original?
Go ahead.
It's wood and this number, I bought them when Pose first came out.
Yeah, so that bait right there, that's the original. I actually, and is that like a bonish color sides with the gray back?
Yes.
Okay, so they made one of those with the brown back, and the first tournament I ever fished on Norman, me and my buddy Troy fished it, and I was using that lure right there, and I think if I'm not mistaken, we got second place on that tournament. And here was the problem with that bait, the line tie. If you overtuned it, you would crack it where it's the two wires touch together, and it wouldn't tune anymore. That was the only weak spot in that bait was over-tuning them. But that was a phenomenal crankbait, man.
And by the same company and the originals for Rick Clun, 2 RC3s by Pose. Let me put one up first. The 2 RC3s with the hold on, with the coffin.
The coffin bill on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're wood too.
That's cool.
Same thing with this one.
Yeah. Man, you throw those. That's new hardware.
Yep. Not anymore.
Way to go, Frank. Take all the guys' favorite baits out of their tackle box now.
Hey, what can I tell you?
And then for because Alfred Williams frog, these were the original, the crazy Gunnersville rat that took off long time ago. Here you go. Here's the original rubber. I don't even know who made them. These are the original rubber rats. What I used to do with these is there wasn't enough weight. They're real squishy.
Yeah.
So we would take worm pieces.
Yep.
And stuff them inside.
Just so it'd make a bigger depression on the grass mat, and you could actually cast them, and it'd have a little bit of weight to it. Yeah. That is literally just a egg-shaped hollow thing of plastic with a soft plastic fork sticking out of the back. I mean, it doesn't look like anything. Yeah, it looks like an egg.
No, they called them rats.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to shove slip sinkers in them
to give them weight.
Yeah, there you go.
To give them weight, and then the slip sinker would bounce around inside and make noise.
Now I met you guys at the Tulsa Classic.
Is that when Frank had like a 3-hour line?
No, I didn't.
I walked up one.
I met you at the worst spot. I met you at the Luke Duncan concert.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Dude, that was when Frank and I realized we were old.
Yeah, no kidding.
We were like, let's just go drink everybody under the table. And we made it like 3 beers each. And we're like, I'm freaking tired. Remember that, Frank? We rode together and I was like, dude, like I'm freaking exhausted.
Yeah, that was.
How late did you stay there, Joe?
Not after you guys left. I was out of there within 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't stay long. I mean, I went to that classic. I never been to a classic before, so my wife was kind enough to put up with my fishing craziness.
What did you think of it?
I actually enjoyed it. I went there because I had bought a boat off of him. I knew he was a fan of Guido Hibden, so Gary Klaus, I knew I was going to run into him at his booth. So back in the 80s or late 80s, early 90s, I had bought like 500 Guido bugs, and they held up, and I still use them to this day. So I knew him and Davey Height were fans of Guido Hibden. So I went there with 2 bags of these. You see that? That's an original Guido bug.
How'd you keep it so pristine, Joe?
These, believe it or not, I owe that to my wife. The bags were put in airtight Tupperware containers. And my fishing equipment was in a cool, dry place. So they didn't leach. They didn't do anything, and because they were in the bag and not in a tackle box, they held up.
Yeah, the thing looks like it's hot off the press.
Yeah, they're amazing. I wish they still made. And then I was hoping to see, because Guido, I think I don't know what color, but on that color worked for me on the Delaware River, black and blue, because of the stained water. I don't know what color he won the classic on that, and then they went nuts. And then I was hoping to run into Larry Nixon because he on the Ohio. You see this worm right here?
Oh, I
This
think
is
you've
gator
talked
tail.
about this, haven't you, Frank?
This is a ditto worm, gator tail.
Yeah, no kidding.
And this worm caught me so many bass in this color and the one with the chartreuse tail.
Joe, did you send me some of those?
Could I send you some?
No, did you? So I had a listener that sent me about a half dozen of those worms probably 3 years ago.
No, it wasn't.
I didn't know if it was you or not. I would imagine there's not many.
No, I've been trying to get a hold of these. So
okay.
I ran into Terry Scroggins because he pours.
Yep.
And I ran into him and I had heard that he had gotten the ditto molds.
Except he only has the 10-incher, right?
Yeah, well, he said he gave the family of the original designer and owner, he gave them back to them when he found them at a garage sale. Because down in Florida, this same company, Ditto, made a worm that was like a 10-inch worm that was a killer down there. So I think he might have kept that one. But this, for me, up north,
dude,
this 5-inch worm,
you can't beat
money.
that. You can't beat that. Man alive, the fish
hold that
I
thing
caught
up
on
again.
That.
Talk me through, out of all the worms on it, both of you guys, talk me through what makes that worm really good. I mean, you can't get it anymore, but just talk me through what
go ahead.
I personally think it's the weight. It's the weight and the tail. The action on it doesn't take much at all. You know how everybody's saying on the forward facing, you want that little vibration going. Yeah. You know, you want a bait that does that. That's what this does.
Yeah, so we used to flip that on the Ohio River a lot, and we would throw it literally on a 1/16 or a 1/8 ounce slip sinker. And that tail on the lightweight, that tail does this and the whole worm swims down. If you put it on a heavier slip sinker, it gets tighter on the heavier slip sinker. That was my number one go-to flipping worm for so many years. And now, if I'm not mistaken, Zoom makes something called a G-tail, which is similar.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it's, in my opinion, it's not like the original gator tail. There's something about the original gator tail. I don't know if it's because it was so soft or what, but the only thing I haven't done with the Zoom ones is I haven't boiled them down yet. So I got to see if I boil them down, if they soften up for me and they behave better. So we'll have to, that's still in the, now that it's winter time out, I could ruin some more pots and pans for my wife.
Oh, actually, Wired to Fish did an article back in 2017 about Terry Scroggins and about the whole thing. That's pretty cool.
There you go. Yeah.
There he is pouring it. Why is the gator tail special? What makes it? There's pictures of it right there. That's Luke Stoner. He's a Illinois kid. I know Luke well. He does a great job over with Dynamic.
And then last but not least, the worm that I learned how to fish, but I said wasn't really worm fishing, was the Charlie Brewer slider.
Dude, that was like the first finesse bait.
And I mean, you talk about like forward-facing sonar. You're right, Frank. There's a head. Excuse it, it's oxidized, but they were black and you could take a pair of dikes, wire cutters, and trim the lead to make it less weight so that it wouldn't hit the bottom. And for me, the fish thought of this as some type of minnow as opposed to something on the bottom, because I could fish it on the bottom, but most of the time I had this swimming through the water column with a very slow reel.
The OG minnow, Joe.
Yeah, basically that's what it was.
And then if you wanted to, you could fish it like a shaky head. If you wanted to, you could fish it like a Ned.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, the original head was not weedless. It was you just pushed it right through.
What is that, about a 3.5, 4 inch plastic?
It's
4 inches.
It's about
It's
4,
exactly
but it's
4
thin.
inches.
But it's thin.
Why hasn't that made a comeback?
Very thin and very soft.
I don't know why it hasn't made a comeback.
That should have made a comeback, especially with what's going on now.
Yeah, and the crazy enough thing is, when I was younger, I fished Tiger Dam, and it was during drawdown, and the lake was coming way, way down, and we couldn't catch anything. And I went to the Charlie Brewer slider worm on the slider head, and slaughtered the smallmouth. And the same thing, it was a super light head, and 99% of the fish hit it on the fall. And that made the difference between having a real crappy trip and a really good trip.
And that light wire hook really penetrates. I mean,
yeah.
And last but not least, and I can't even explain this one. I don't know where I got it. I don't know what year I bought it, but you can put it out to your,
clear it.
You can put out to your viewers.
I don't know what
this.
God.
This is crazy.
It's a
this is
gambling
crazy.
show. Come on.
This is crazy lore. So this is a Zara Spook copy, but I got to explain this to you guys. So it's got an eye underneath that's been planted in there, but this is wood covered in rubber. It's soft. And then it's hand painted. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, we can see it.
Like a purplish chartreuse color.
Yep.
But it's got that same eye. The head of the bait reminds me of how the old spooks were made. Like screw in harnesses.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you ever fished that one?
Yes. This is a fish. This catches fish, but now I'm afraid to throw it.
Now, I would imagine with a softer body, when you're trying to twitch it, wouldn't there be more resistance? So it would be less slashing and more like a less. Am I on the right path here, Frank? Like with that materials, wouldn't it create less of a side to side and more of kind of a vertical twitch?
No, I think the harder you work it, the more slap you're going to get out of it.
It's smooth. I mean, it's not like spongy soft. But that it's a piece of wood underneath there that has been dipped in whatever this plastic is.
Do you think that was a production bait, or do you think that was a dude who just made it? Because if it's a production bait and you just showed it out here, someone will be able to tell you everything about it. I promise.
Well, somebody in Pennsylvania, because I knew I purchased it in Pennsylvania somewhere, or in Maryland, because Timoni in Maryland used to have a big bass thing.
Is that eye just super glued on, or is it actually?
I think
don't break it.
I think it might be screwed in.
Oh wow!
I wonder if it also acts as a weight.
It's just plastic.
Don't take it out.
Yeah.
Get the pliers out. Start cutting it. I want to see its internal.
It was just something unique, and I can't remember where I purchased it.
It
might have been something local on the Delaware River.
Of the bass fishing world, where we now look at a screen and say, ooh, look at those fish. And then we have the baits, but instead we just look at the baits and say, ooh, look at this. So now we're not fishing. We're just looking at fish, and now we're just looking at baits.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. I do want to ask, I see a bunch of trophies and stuff in those fishing trophies, or those multi-sport trophies?
No, they're my kids. The books in the back are all bass fishing books that I do collect. I wanted them for my kids, They get all that information that I had to read on those things is on the internet now. I mean, it's a different world. They
Darn
can
internet
pick up,
shows.
they can pick up thousands of pieces of information that we had to struggle for back in the day. But you know that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Well, that's how it goes.
I
I
mean,
mean, everything keeps moving forward.
I mean, I have this stuff, and I have all the newer stuff. I have Cord
Mhm.
Tackle. I love them for the minnows. Matt Steffen, I believe, that has that company, right?
Yeah, Matt and
those
Johnny
jigs,
Schultz.
those jigs are phenomenal. And with Lornet, Great Lakes, I love man,
Dan
I
stuff.
love those. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love their football jigs.
Yeah, they're
I love
good,
their
man.
football jigs.
Those are the sneakiest Ned head jigs on the market, bar none. The Great Lakes Finesse football jigs fit a Ned head style bait, a Ned style bait, absolutely perfect. Especially like Joe, if you're fishing for smallmouth and stuff like that. But even here in Oklahoma, like I said, I got a double order at Frank's expense.
I'm still waiting for my
You're
order.
still waiting on yours.
Still waiting.
Dude, this box comes and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is one of the perks of being in the industry. And then a separate order comes like an hour later and I'm like, my God, they love me. And I open it up and it's just piles of Great Lakes Finesse. And I'm calling Frank and I'm like, look at all this stuff. And Frank's like, oh yeah, I should be having mine here soon. I can't wait to go through it. And I'm looking at the two orders and both of them are addressed to me, Joe. Both of them are addressed to, but one of them says Frank SCALISH on it. Like that Frank SCALISH ordered it, even though the shipping address is mine. So I'm like, man, what do I do here?
Yeah.
So I called Frank and Frank said, I will say it. You see, he goes, you got to be shitting me.
Yeah, exactly.
He makes the call. But the problem was I mean, dude, I had it separated like I was an 8-year-old at Halloween with all my candy, right? Like,
you dumped both boxes.
Yeah, I had no idea what went with what box at that point. I just knew that I had a lot of Great Lakes Finesse stuff. And I called Dan and I was like, so here's the problem. I was like, I've got this shipping order here. It's going to take me 3 hours to separate all this stuff again because it was 2 of the exact same orders, which I didn't realize. And then he said, screw it. We'll just send Frank some new stuff. You can keep it.
True. That's
Nice.
true.
Except for the send Frank the new stuff part. What's your favorite? What do you like, that green pumpkin one or the brown, the football head?
The green pumpkin.
Yeah.
So I'm like my home lake is smallmouth 9-1 to largemouth.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm just like torn up with smallmouth. In fact, I got your shirt on, Frank.
The Smalley shirt.
The Smalley shirt. In fact, Matt, you need to get the store up and running, buddy, because these were good quality shirts.
That was a Frank deal. We went through a number of different shirts.
Smallmouth.
Yeah, there you go. Same thing.
Yeah, no, I think that we kind of wanted to we have to have that talk after, Frank, because like I said, we got a limited run of patch hats, which are, I believe, that smallmouth with the signature underneath it. But we might have to make a small investment in the clothing. That way it's at hand. So the way it works, guys, is you either that company does a one-off for us. So when you order it, that's why it's open for 2 weeks. And that's why it saves everybody money in the process. Cause then they print the shirts after the store closes. So it costs more money if you either keep the printer up to where they have to keep making them, or then you're in however many and you have to guess kind of what your forecast to sell. So they do us a solid by doing pre-orders, and then it does all you guys a solid because we can keep the cost down and it's a one-time print and it's out the door. So, but yeah, that Smalley shirt, I think if we were going to bring back one, I think we bring back the Smalley in that color and then the largemouth in the black t-shirt. I love that black t-shirt with the green BTL and the black, like kind of chalk outline. And I think we need to do the Smalley in a black shirt too.
I
quite frankly.
agree 100% on that. I 100% agree.
And
There's a lot
after-
that goes into it to try to get it out, and they do a great job of working with us.
I'd like Frank to do, and I'm going to put him on the spot here. I'd like Frank to do when he went on his rant for the wave runner that came by him in the pontoon boat. Listen, it's educational. I think it'll actually work because it happened to me. I was on a load of smallmouths and I was setting up on them, scoping, and 3 young ladies came with wave runners and parked right on top of them and kept doing circles, waiting for their men to catch up to them, and then realized and said, "Oh, he's fishing." Those fish were gone.
Oh yeah, buddy.
So for educational purposes, I think Frank can draw a bass boat on the back of the shirt with somebody standing with their arms raised saying, "Why?"
Or WTF. WTF.
Just that angry Frank shirt.
Just why?
WTF.
And I mean, because I get asked about these shirts. I get asked about these shirts on BDL, and it's educational. So I tell them what the podcast is and explain to other fishermen. That'll be great for the public to realize that you're not supposed to do what you're doing.
That's a Gamatsu hook, right, Frank?
Yeah, and it's the right thickness.
Yeah.
Because it penetrates without, you don't have to smash the fish. You just pretty much lean in on them and you got them.
So if you're just like standard netting, that 1/8 ounce with the 1/0 hook, it's like what, 3 or 4 to a pack?
Yeah, I think it's 4.
Just whatever Ned style you use, get a couple packs of those, capital BTL 24, and just try it when it's Ned season. They're
you'll
insane.
Like it. You'll like it.
And you can get it in the matte black. You can get it in the green pumpkin, pearl white, or the matte brown, so you can kind of match it. But I mean, to me, that green pumpkin with the 3 or 4 inch Ned bait on that 1/8 ounce is unbeatable.
Yeah, and this year I took that and I took a spine craw and cut the first segment off the spine craw and used it with just the spine craw on it and smoked the largemouth. Absolutely smoked the largemouth.
I totally forgot I wrote this down. I feel like another shirt on the back. It says, "If you're not flipping, you're not fishing." I love that quote. That's a great quote for the old school guys.
Well, that's how it was back in the day, man. If you weren't flipping, you weren't fishing. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the most underrated thing is just a good flipping bite.
Dude, how much fun is that when you're just a big line, big rods, and you're just smashing
until you're breaking them off in the Bassmaster Top 150 on Eufaula. Then it's not all fun and games. Then is it, Frank?
No, it's not.
But you also ratched him out of there.
Yeah, I got one on the next cast, thank God, because that's how I made the classic.
Phenomenal. What else we got? You got anything else you want to? So far, you're 100. You're batting 1,000, Joe.
That head that you just showed, I love that for especially when the change to slightly before the fall. I put a rage bug on that.
Okay.
By itself, nothing else, and just drag it through the rocks.
Yep.
And wait until it feels like it's getting caught, and just give it a little pull here and there. Man, the smallmouths can't stand it. They absolutely can't stand it.
It's built around a Gamakatsu fine wire 604. For those of you who are hook number
savvy.
nerds, yeah, hook savvy. All right, show the old shadow box one more time.
Oh, absolutely.
There you go. I like that Frank did the shadow boxing himself with like the handwritten stuff. So
it's fantastic. It is absolutely. I'm so glad and so happy that he did this. I think it's the best thing I could have done. It went to a good cause. The Hall of Fame what they do there, and Johnny with the environment.
Yeah.
We we need to take care of our resource.
He is an incredible
Yeah.
conservationist. Also, I was at that Hall of Fame, dude. Joe, you would have lost it with the table next to me. Frank would have been in there slugging back cold ones because that's what they were doing. It was I'm gonna get this wrong. It was correct. If I'm wrong on one of these, don't crucify. It was Basil Bacon.
Wow.
Stacey King. Larry Nixon. Who is the writer? Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. He was one of the original writers for Bass. Rick Clunn came over and said hi to all of them.
Was it Pratt? Dave Pratt?
No. Gerald Crawford.
Okay.
And I mean, you like looked at that table and you were just like, holy cow, that was impressive. They were all sitting there. You could tell that they all were living back over the last 50 years of their careers when they were all just out there trusting this dude in a cowboy hat driving because they thought his was the only tournament where they weren't going to get beat by a frozen bass. And here they are, they all bought a spinnerbait out of the back of Johnny Morris's van, while he was competing and making classics with him. And, they're sitting there in this cathedral of a banquet with Johnny, talking up there going, my God, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's come. Look how far it's come.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. I remember the first catalog was just a flyer, and it was Bantam reels, the silver ones that were in it. It was, I think it might have been like 1972 that came to my parents' house, and I lost my mind. I wish I would have kept that flyer.
That would have been awesome.
The crazy thing is I used to collect all the Bassmaster magazines and all the fishing facts and In Fisherman. And I had boxes and boxes of years, decade worth of them. And when we moved, it was, let's just say it was problematic when we made the move, and I gave them all to the library. And they were, and I was pissed because I had been collecting them my entire life. And I had damn near every single issue. And I gave the whole collection away, and I hate myself for doing that right now, because it's, man, you know how it is.
Yeah, I did the same thing, Frank. I still got a pile of them, but I did the same thing.
There's some guy who went into the library, got those magazines, went home, and said, "This has not helped me play the guitar at all."
Oh, that is the best, dude.
Had his mom drop him off in the wood panel station wagon so he could go get some Bassmasters and get the chicks in high school.
And all he came out of it, he could only play Smoke on the Water.
So I know what's going to happen, Joe. I'm going to have people be like, hey, I got a lure that I think Joe would like to have, or I got something and I want to show it to him. Do you have any social medias? Don't give out like personal information, but if any of the listeners want to get with you, show you some baits, maybe, add to each other's collection, you got any way to contact you without
I'm on Facebook. That's
okay.
about it. I'm on Facebook, and it's just Joe T. McCLOSKEY.
Okay. And a lot of people saying, Scott's saying, apparently you're on Sergeant Mac terms with him. He says Sergeant McCLOSKEY is a natural. Rick, Joe has been great. Appreciate the knowledge. Scott said, thank you for your career service, Joe. Great show. We need more of these shows. This was a good one. Very well done, Joe.
Thank you, everybody. Listen.
Oh, you already got invited to go fishing.
Oh, awesome. Let's before you go, Matt, you'll be interested in this.
Cop in the WAP.
If you can see Hold on a second. If you can see this,
we're paying attention. We're trying to compliment you, Joe.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that football. Who's on the football?
Uh-oh.
Be careful.
Don't drop it.
Oh, it always bothers me when Frank's talking about one of a kind memorabilia. It says
all right. So
National
my father
Football League.
went to a Maxwell Club benefit, and this is a football. At that time, he did this for my son. So my son was 15. He's now 28. This was signed by every Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh, wow.
Damn, dude.
That's freaking awesome.
I
Is
don't know
Billy
why
Sims on there?
My son hasn't taken it home yet.
Billy Sims on there? It's not barbecue, it's Boomer Q. Well, he was our Heisman Trophy winner for OU, and then he opened up a chain of barbecue restaurants, and now he, when he was on TV, you say it's not barbecue, it's Boomer Q. He's the guy at the Heisman Trophy winners who's always like yelling in the back. He would always interrupt everyone's moment by just yelling at inopportune times, "Boomer!" during the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
Well,
if he was on there, it would be half the football. You would know.
I know. Well, the one name that's on here is Chuck Bednarik, and that has Hall of Fame 67. So
Steve Owens.
There's all kinds of names on here, buddy.
That's
not going to pull this out.
You've also got an invitation. You got another invitation from Jeff. He can't hear us now. To come down and fish the Tennessee River. Oh, he's gonna come back with his
favorite ball.
Yeah.
And then he got this for my other son. This is a 1980s World Series Philadelphia Phillies Tug McGraw signed baseball.
Nice.
I like that. That's Joe, your
nice.
Winter and spring plans are already booked. You just got another invitation from Jeff to go fish Pickwick with him.
Man, I would love that.
Listen, I'm not kidding. It blows my mind. You kind of talk about the day for Frank and kind of what you've created with this thing. Like there's dudes who Frankie's a social butterfly, so he ends up knowing everybody. I mean, the guy probably invented sororities and fraternities. But there's so many BTL Day 4 listeners that have connected either through a bait swap or someone, mentions a bait and they're like, I've got one, or they're in the same area, or they find someone who's fished the same water. Mm-hmm. Then they talk to each other on Facebook. Then they start fishing together. We had guys that had met through the show who went to the Classic this past year. So it's kind of cool to watch that community grow.
Yeah, the fans are fabulous. You guys are the best.
So
it's been
fun. Well, you guys put on your format is fantastic. The two of you together have great chemistry. I really appreciate it. It's fun.
Thanks,
it's
man.
fun.
Yeah.
The show's fun, and that's what I want to see. I want not controversy, facts, and fun.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. The only thing that I wish we did more of was fish together.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'd like to see that.
I'd double that. Well, next year we got some really, and maybe sooner than next year.
Oh yeah, that came through like it's a done deal. It's going to happen.
We have some really cool things. We're going to this show is going to become even better, and I'm very excited about it.
A lot of cool stuff as far as educational and entertainment as well. And like you said, we'll work on some new clothing, probably a January, early February drop, kind of in preparation for the Classic.
Yeah,
so
that'll be good. I'm excited. We got so much good things that we're discussing and trying to get accomplished. And if it happens, this show will maintain number one, and it will still be one of a kind. Because as
long as you're involved, Frank, he'll always be one of a kind.
It's a fact. We're just gonna leave it at that. We're ending it
Well,
right there.
So-
I appreciate this guys. It's been a real honor. And before I leave, maybe I'll see you at the Texas Classic, because
We'll
I'm
be
going
there.
down there. That
Hell yeah.
young man that I was in that team tournament with, his parents are friends of mine from Weatherford, Texas. He has a bass boat, so my plans are to go down there and spend a few days on some Texas lakes and hit some big
Perfect.
ones, and then take in the Classic. So maybe
Yeah.
I'll see you down there.
Hit me up, Joe. Yeah, I spend a lot of time in Fort Worth. I'm actually going to be fishing in Fort Worth this Sunday, and I'll get you a fishing report on what's popping off around that Fort Worth area. There's 6 or 7 lakes that you could get on, depending on what you want to do.
Lake called Possum. They go to Possum.
Yeah, there's Lake
all
Worth,
kinds-
there's Possum Kingdom.
That's it.
There's all
Possum
sorts
Kingdom.
of, yeah. Yep.
Well, that's fabulous.
So
Well,
also
we'll
the
see
name
you
of the pay-per-view video that Frank last rented. All right, Joe. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll let you go, and then Frank and I'll wrap
Thank
it
you.
up.
All right,
All right,
thanks,
have a
guys.
good
I
one.
really appreciate it. Thank you.
This was
Joe,
a fun
thanks
one.
a million, bud. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks.
There you go.
Oh,
I feel
fabulous.
like Joe, back in his career in law enforcement, he'd be the kind that when you knew you did something wrong and got pulled over, he let you sit there for a couple seconds and think about it before he walked up to the car.
Oh, 100%, dude. 100%.
he just watched to see how fidgety you were in the back, and then let you off with a warning, though.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. He's a really
No,
good
that was
guy.
awesome. That's what we like to see. Obviously, that shadow box. What was it? It was to go for what, $1,400 or
Yeah.
something, or 8? It was,
14 and change, yeah.
So thank you for doing that. I know that was a labor of love, Frank.
Well, you said what it would go for, and I didn't believe you.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
to
like
me, that's
straight
about
off
fair.
the rip. Like right off the rip, you said.
I said $1,300 to $1,500
Yeah.
is what I think it is valued at. Like, would be a quality, and it went for $1,400, which goes to the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. A good majority of that, we've had Gene Gilliland on in the studio a number of times. A lot of habitat construction programs across the country that are then followed up for. You can go to bassfishinghof.com to see that. A lot of scholarships that go not just to people that are in fisheries biology, but like to people who are in high school who want to focus on the bass fishing side, because there's a big difference between getting people into those positions who fish and getting people in those positions who understand the bass fishing world. So that
Right.
a lot of that goes into that. A lot of the scholarship funds, the rehabilitation cleanup projects, and then also a lot of refurbish and addition just went into the Hall of Fame. If you're in Springfield, Missouri, it is now a walkthrough exhibit to where every single person that goes through the wonders of wildlife is directed through the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. Prior to this, you had to go down, and it was kind of a dead end, and then you would go back up. But now Johnny opened up some areas, worked with us. The displays are updated. There's a massive timeline that the committee on the Hall of Fame has worked for. So every single person that goes to that aquarium, which has been ranked the best aquarium, I think 4 years running in the United States, has to walk through the Hall of Fame, see all those plaques, all the history of bass fishing, understand it, and maybe that sparks a flame in them and a passion in them. So
It's really cool. It's super cool, and we'll talk after the show about because there's going to be a Hall of Fame meeting that we'll have to go to in Texas when we get down there.
yeah, the Hall of Fame mixer.
Yeah.
You were there you were there last year. You kind of stood around Frankie running all over the building, sucking down Coors Lights like it's his job, glad handing half the room. If you look at the press releases, we've already showed it. Frankie's in the background of the press releases and every single picture.
He photobombed them all.
He did. You never know where he's going to be. I call up Juice. Oh, yeah, Frankie just got into town. I'm like, wait, what?
What? Yeah, I'm actually I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed because he's got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe, but I'm hoping he comes to the Classic with me again this next classic. I'm hoping he comes down with me again.
Dude, we got to pump his YouTube channel.
Yeah, he just started his YouTube channel actually. I'm a little.
Holy cow! He's got a logo and everything.
Yeah, I'm a little envious. You know, I wanted to do one, but so far it's starting. So
there it is. It's called For the Love of Fishing, Frank SCALISH Jr. Now it's got all his details there. He's got 41 subscribers. Let's get that number to 100.
Yeah, let's.
You subscribe to BTL, head over to Frank SCALISH Jr. I think there's an install here from the Bass Tank, right?
Yeah, actually, we yeah.
Look at that, the logo, look at all that stuff. That's impressive. There that, and then kind of walks through the install. Now, is there some father-son banter back and forth in this?
Yeah, there is. There is some. Some of it's funny. Some of it.
Look at that look that he just gave you. Watch this.
Yeah.
Watch this look right here. You didn't see it. Here it comes. And then I know that there's going to be some fishing stuff out there too. Yeah, basic approach to Lake Erie. I'm not logged in over here, so we got to go through the collagen commercial.
That's okay.
There it is. So anyway, go like Frankie's stuff. Dude's been grinding hard, so
appreciate the
there you go.
out.
All right. Boy, based on how the show started, it sure got stronger as it went on.
That was so funny.
I think people like have made it an hour and 50 minutes did not see it coming together like this. It was like, you know, when your vehicle starts shaking on the road, it never goes away. We started with a shaky wheel, and now we're going 80 and drinking hot coffee.
Perfect.
Big shout out to Joe McCLOSKEY for jumping on. And recorded show next week, I will be at Pro Bass Adventures, Lake El Salto, Mexico. 85, sunny. Just enough for a little jacket in the morning when you're throwing the big salt water. The Jimmy Houston Okie Shad Super Spook. Upgraded the split rings because I had 2 bass rip the split rings off last year when I was down there. My big bass on top was an 8.11. My big bass overall was a 9.7. Just got a report from down there. You're talking 34 to 37 pounds on top water in the first couple hours in the morning before you even get going.
Oh, I would give you a hand gesture right now, but it's.
I thought that was going to get real awkward. All right, let's just end it on that note.
But it's a family show, so.
This has been another edition of BTL with the man Frank SCALISH. December 12th, the drop of the next limited edition Frank SCALISH signature series on LureNet. That color is
St. Clair red. And don't forget this Monday, the drop of the Pro Rogue and all the effects colors.
There you go. All right, we'll talk to everybody later. See ya.